All right, the Magic takes on the Hornets, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off on Thursday, April 7th, 2022. Charlotte's minus 13.5, totals 228. And following yet another disappointing day of personal sports bets on BrockPage.com yesterday, we dropped to 5-2 in our last 7 board member tier package bets on that website. And that's good for just 71% during that span. Now, if you want to see if we can get back on track, the link for today's board member tier package bet is in the description section below. $1,000 bettors are now up only $2,500 during that stretch of bets. Hey, listen, if we're not hitting all of our bets, it's not worth doing. Now, we do have our Major League Baseball tier package bet going off here today on opening day as well. So the link for that personal bet is also located in the description section below. Now, if you want to know what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my webpage, I'll explain a little bit more about it at the end of the video. But as far as making a free pick goes for this Orlando-Charlotte game, it's actually the Hornets who are a lock to play in the playing game. No real reason for them to put forth max effort here tonight and get guys injured. The Hornets already lost 3 out of their last 4. They've had a tough time covering the point spread lately as well. Charlotte covered in only 3 out of their last 8. And they're amongst the worst in the Eastern Conference in points allowed per contest. The Hornets are giving up nearly 116 points a night. And they're also in the bottom 3 in the league in defensive boards. Now they're taking on a Magic team on the other side of things who actually has a winning record against the point spread on the road this year. And they're coming fresh off a 5-point victory over Cleveland, where they scored 120 points. Jalen Suggs is dropping nearly a dozen points a game and also averages 3 rebounds, 4 assists. Meanwhile, Mo Bamba is averaging double-digit points a game himself, along with 8 rebounds. And speaking of boards, the Magic's actually in the top 10 in the NBA in offensive rebounding on the road. Now, injury-wise, Anthony, Wagner, and Carter are out. Schofield and Harris are questionable. Meanwhile, for Charlotte on the other side of things, Gordon Hayward sitting this one out with that foot injury. Now, total-wise, Charlotte saw their last 3 straight get over the line, 70% to the over in their last 10 meetings with Orlando. So if you're into historical trends, you certainly want to think about that one there. Meanwhile, the Magic on the other side of things, they saw overs recently against the likes of Cleveland, Washington, and Sacramento. I'm going to lean toward Orlando plus 13.5 and the over 228. Next contest, it is going to be Sixers versus the Raptors, 7:30 Eastern start time. Toronto's minus 1.5, totals 217. Now, the Raptors won 7 out of their last 9 ball games. And they failed to cover only 3 times during that stretch. Now, the Raptors have also done a real nice job defensively at home. These guys are allowing only 106 points a game in the Scotiabank Arena. Now, offensively, Pascal Siakam, he's averaging 22.5 points a night, along with 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Meanwhile, Freddie VanVleet, he's scoring over 20 points a game himself, along with 4 boards, 6 assists. And speaking of boards, the Raptors are currently in the top 10 in the league in offensive rebounding per game. They're taking on a Sixers team who failed to cover in 5 out of their last 6. And they've also had a real tough time with Toronto in recent meetings. Matter of fact, the Sixers are averaging only 104 points a game in their last 10 contests against the Raptors. Now, Philly's biggest problem area is their offensive rebounding. These guys are currently in the bottom 3 in the NBA in offensive boards per game. When it comes to the injury report in this one, Thybulle's out for the Sixers. Meanwhile, for Toronto on the other side, Anunoby and Watanabe, they are listed as questionable. Now, when it comes to the number in this one, Toronto saw 3 out of their last 4 fall under the line. They're also 70% to the under in their last 10 meetings with the Sixers. So once again, if you're into historical trends, plenty of unders to go around. Meanwhile, Philadelphia, saw unders recently against the likes of Cleveland, Detroit, and Phoenix. I'm going to lean toward Toronto minus 1.5 and the under 217. Next ball game, it is going to be Celtics versus the Bucks, 7:30 p.m. East. Milwaukee's minus 6, totals 228. Despite being favored by a couple of baskets at home here, Milwaukee's done a lackluster job of covering the point spread at home this season. They're just 16-24 against the spread in the Fiserv Forum. That's good for only 40% during that span. When it comes to defensive play in this one, the Bucks allow more third-quarter points than any other team in the association. They're taking on a red-hot Boston team who lost only 4 games since February 16th. Matter of fact, Boston posted a record of 15-4 straight up during that time frame. Now, the Celtics are also leading the NBA in defending the field goal, and they're allowing fewer points per game than any other team in basketball. Now, scoring-wise, Jason Tatum, he's averaging 27 points a game, along with 8 rebounds and 4 assists. Meanwhile, Jaylen Brown scoring over 23.5 points a night himself, along with 6 rebounds, 3 assists as well. And speaking of rebounding the basketball, the Celtics currently find themselves in the top 3 in the NBA in offensive boards on the road. Now, injury-wise, Horford and Stauskas are questionable for the Celtics. Meanwhile, for Milwaukee on the other side, Bembry's out, Allen's doubtful, and Giannis is questionable. Now, total-wise, Milwaukee's last 3 straight got over the line. They also allowed 116 points a game in their last 10 meetings with Boston. Meanwhile, the Celtics have gone 80% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Boston plus 6, over 228. Next ball game, it is going to be Spurs versus the Timberwolves, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Minnesota's minus 8.5, totals 238. Now, Minnesota's played really well in their own building this year. They're 25-14 in the target center. And they're leading the entire NBA in points on average per contest. Karl Anthony Towns is scoring 24 points a night, along with 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Now, the big man's also making nearly 41% of his three-pointers. Meanwhile, Anthony Edwards, he's scoring 21 points a game himself, along with 4 boards, 3 assists. When it comes to defensive play in this one, the T-Wolves are in the top 3 in guarding the field goal at home. They're taking on a Spurs team who's consistently struggled on the defensive end of the court this season. San Antonio's in the bottom 5 in points allowed per contest. They're amongst the worst in the West in defensive rebounding as well. Now, injury-wise, leading scorer DeJounte Murray, he's out. Walker, Langford, and Vassell are questionable. Meanwhile, for Minnesota on the other side of things, Beverly, McDaniels, and Beasley are questionable for them. When it comes to the scoring in this one, the Timberwolves saw unders recently against the likes of Toronto, Dallas, and the Lakers. They're also 21-18 to the under in the target center. Meanwhile, San Antonio is 23-16 to the under in their travels. I'm going to lean toward Minnesota minus 8.5 and the under 238. Next matchup, it is going to be Blazers versus the Pelicans, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. New Orleans is minus 17, totals 223.5. But as bad as Portland's been, this is actually an insanely large number to cover for New Orleans. I mean, this is a team who ranks in the bottom 10 in the NBA in scoring on average per game. The Pels have also had their difficulty shooting the 3-ball. These guys are in the bottom 5 in offensive 3-point percentage. They're taking on a Portland team who covered recently against the likes of Detroit and this very New Orleans team. And as bad and depleted as Portland is, they still do a nice job of scoring points in the second quarter. Portland's currently in the top 10 in second quarter scoring on the road. Now, the real question is, who's going to do the scoring for Portland here today? Well, Drew Eubanks, he's scoring 14 points a game with the Blazers. He's also averaging over 8.5 rebounds a game. Meanwhile, Ben McLemore, he's scoring double-digit points a game himself. When it comes to the injury list, Winslow, Hart, and Watford are out. Williams is questionable. Meanwhile, for New Orleans on the other side of things, the big man, Jonas Valanciunas, he is listed as questionable with an ankle. When it comes to the number, New Orleans saw overs recently against the likes of Sacramento and Chicago. Meanwhile, Portland saw overs recently against the likes of San Antonio and Detroit. I'm going to lean toward Portland plus 17 in the over 223.5. Next game, it is going to be Grizzlies versus the Nuggets, 9 o'clock Eastern start time. Denver's -3 with a total at 232.5. The Nuggets will probably be playing this one pretty hard as Nikola Jokic is currently the favorite for MVP. So probably going to end up looking for a strong finish out of him in these last couple of games of the season. Now, the Nuggets are in the top 3 in the NBA in shooting from the field. They're also averaging 114 points a game in the Ball Arena. And once again, Nikola Jokic, he's scoring 27 points a game. He's also averaging 13 boards and 7 assists. Meanwhile, Aaron Gordon, he averages over 14.5 points a night himself, along with 5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. And when it comes to rebounding the basketball, the Nuggets are also in the top 5 in defensive boards. They're taking on a Memphis team who failed to cover in 2 out of their last 3. They allowed over 115 points a game during that short span. And even though these guys have been solid offensively this year, they do have their struggles shooting the basketball on the road. They're currently in the bottom 10 in road offensive field goal percentage. And they're making only 73% of their free throws this year. Now, injury-wise, Terry, Tilly, and Morant are out. Brooks is also listed as questionable. Meanwhile, for Denver on the other side of things, Najee is out. Green is questionable for them. When it comes to the total in this one, Denver is currently 70% to the over in their last 10 ball games. They're also 24-15 to the over in the Ball Arena. That's good for 62% in that particular category. Meanwhile, Memphis has gone 23-17 to the over as the official road team. I'm going to lean toward Denver -3 in the over 232.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Lakers versus the Warriors, 10 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Golden State's -13, totals 222. Now, the Warriors covered in their last 3 straight, and they're winning 75% of their contests at home. Klay Thompson's averaging nearly 20 points a game, along with 3 boards, couple assists. Meanwhile, Andrew Wiggins, he's knocking down nearly 40% of his three-pointers. He also scores 17 points a night. When it comes to rebounding the basketball, Golden State's in the top 5 in the NBA in offensive boards at home. They're taking on a Laker team who lost their last 7 straight. And they got the W in only 28% of their road games this season. Now, when it comes to defensive play in this one, LA's currently in the bottom 5 in points allowed per contest. Now, injury-wise, LeBron and AD are both questionable. Meanwhile, for Golden State, Steph Curry's still out for them. When it comes to the number, LA's gone 70% to the over in their last 10 ball games. They're also 23-16 to the over on the road. Meanwhile, Golden State saw overs recently against the likes of Washington, Atlanta, and Miami. I'm going to lean toward Golden State -13 in the over 222. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on BrockPage.com. Now, if you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind, you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today on BrockPage.com, you're going to get access to that membership every single day all the way through the end of April. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And guys, if you want to get access to every single membership that I offer on that website, we do have an all-inclusive package that's called the Board Member Tier. Now, not only do board members get access to the Board Member Tier package pick itself, They also get access to every single bet that I give out on that website all the way through the end of April. Once again, the board member tier is an all-inclusive package. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total. And what I do on BrockPage.com is actually share with you which one of these free YouTube picks on my channel that I'm actually betting on personally. Now, guys, most importantly, I gotta thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Thursday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at BrockPage.com.